How can one connect the traditional story of a highly developed Arab civilization in the Middle Ages with what the Arab world has been like over the past 300 years of real history? Is it possible that one and the same ethnic group before the 8th century was a horde of crude barbarians, alien to intellectual activity, in the 8th to 13th centuries turned into a locomotive of world science, and in the 14th century it again plunged into barbarism? Answer: no. An ethnic group is a biological community linked by a common origin and sharing a common biogenetics. The biogenetics of an ethnic group determines its physical, mental, and intellectual characteristics. Ethnic characteristics are characterized by constancy, otherwise ethnic groups would not exist. Intellectual characteristics include the ability to learn and be creative. If we are told that over the course of several hundred years, the intellectual characteristics of the same ethnic group have changed to their opposites twice, then either we are dealing with different ethnic groups, or they are trying to mislead us. The French Orientalist historian André Servier, in his book Islam and the Psychology of Muslims, convincingly demonstrated that both factors were present. Firstly, the highly developed Arab civilization of the Middle Ages arose not in their native Arabia, where the Arabs remained in a state of barbarism until the 20th century, but in the territories of civilized peoples who, having been conquered by Islam, continued their creative activity despite persecution by the conquerors. This was the last flowering of the Greco-Latin civilization. But, ultimately, its light was extinguished by Arab barbarism and the dogmas of Islam. Secondly, the Arabic writings of the Middle Ages are distorted copies and compilations of the works of the authors of the Alexandrian school, as well as of Greek, Syrian, Persian, and Indian authors of the pre-Islamic period. These crude and distorted Arabic writings came into circulation in medieval Europe as the works of Arabic genius. Their true character was discovered later when, during the Renaissance, the original Greek manuscripts were exhumed from ancient libraries, and scholars were found capable of translating them. Modern research confirms André Servier's findings. In 2004, Claudia Ott, a German doctor of Arabic studies, published a study with Iraqi scholar Muhsin Mahdi that the collection of Oriental tales, 1001 Nights, was created in the 18th century France for commercial purposes. The collection was first published by the French Orientalist Antoine Galland in 1704. It was a resounding success, and by 1709-06, more volumes had been published, and then 4 more, the last of which was published after Galland's death. Another example is The Travels of Ibn Jubayr. This work astonishes with its developed, expressive language, characteristic of 19th century French writers. Particularly striking is the artistic description of nature, which appeared in world literature only in the 19th century. The preface to the work states that the travels of Ibn Jubayr became known in Europe in the mid-19th century. The Arabic text of the sections relating to Sicily and their French translation were published in 1845. It's quite possible that The Travels of Ibn Jubayr was created in the 19th century France, where the vogue for the Orient, which had begun in the 18th century, received a powerful boost from Napoleon's Eastern campaigns. Such works had less a scholarly than a commercial purpose, to satisfy the fashion for Eastern exotica. Mikhail Postnikov's book, East and the Middle Ages, is a remarkable contribution to exposing the falsifications of medieval works. In the chapter, Islam and the Arabs, the author puts forward a well-reasoned theory of the European origin of the major works of the Muslim Renaissance. In conclusion, Postnikov writes, quote, "We have seen that the works of the leading representatives of the Muslim Renaissance are unquestionably apocryphal. This proves the apocryphal nature of all other works of this period, as they are linked by a system of cross-references. For example, the Sufi Catalogue and Biruni's Canon, in particular the works of the Arab historians of that time, are also considered apocrypha. These works were discovered by European scholars relatively late. The work of the most famous Arab historian Mas'udi was published only between 1851 and 1877 in Paris, and the work of another historian considered equally authoritative, Makrizi, was published only in 1908 in Tübingen. These works were unknown to scholars of traditional Muslim scholarship before their discovery by Europeans." End of quote. A weighty argument in favor of the mythological nature of the history of the highly developed Arab civilization of the Middle Ages is the IQ level of representatives of the Arab ethnic group. According to the websites Data Pandas and World Data, the average IQ of Middle Eastern Arabs is 82, and that of North African Arabs is 77, while the average IQ of Northern Europeans is 99. Of course, the IQ test is not an absolute measure of intelligence, much less creativity. Therefore, to complete the picture, we will use another indicator: the number of Nobel Prize winners, excluding Peace Prize winners. In 2022, the number of Arabs in the world was 465 million. This huge super-ethnos has produced only 2 Nobel Prize winners: Egyptian writer Naguib Mahfouz and Egyptian chemist Ahmed Zewail. On the other hand, small Denmark, with a population of 5 million, has given the world 13 Nobel laureates. A century has passed since the publication of André Servier's book. Today, Arab children attend secular schools, and wealthy Arab families send their sons to study at prestigious universities in Europe and the United States. However, these positive changes have had no noticeable impact on the Arabs. The Arab oil monarchies owe their wealth to scientists and engineers from the United States and Europe who developed technologies for the extraction, processing, and transportation of oil and gas. Another fact that points to the mythological nature of the highly developed medieval Arabs is the low capacity for self-government characteristic of Arab ethnic groups. While the ethnic groups of Europe, over the 300-year period of capitalist development, transcended the tribal stage and became peoples, then nations, creating nation-states, the Arab ethnic groups remain at the tribal stage to this day and owe their statehood to Europeans. Modern Arab nations are artificial, and the states created for Arabs by Europeans are untenable. Examples of this include the Lebanese Republic, the Syrian Arab Republic, the Republic of Iraq, the State of Libya, and the Republic of Yemen. The artificiality of the nation and the failure of its state are manifested in intertribal and interfaith wars that break out whenever the power of the ruling tribe or the dominant religious denomination weakens. About the author. André Servier is a French historian and Orientalist whose extensive knowledge of classical and medieval texts from both the West and the East is combined with practical insight into Muslim society. In the early 20th century, Servier lived in French Algeria, where he gained first-hand experience with the customs and traditions of North African Muslims. Servier is one of the few French intellectuals who made a deep study of the written sources of Islam, the Quran, the Hadith, and biography of Muhammad by Ibn Ishaq. Servier's research also includes the history of the Ottoman Empire and the Pan-Islamic movement. His book, Islam and the Psychology of Muslims, 1924, is the result of 25 years of research. This video is dedicated to Chapter 13, The Mind of a Muslim, from André Servier's book. A link to the text of Chapter 13 with sources is provided below this video. Thank you for your attention.